you think you know about these states, watch till the end to get shocked, because this video will change your perception about US states. So, you want to know why some of America's prosperous states are struggling with population declines? Well, the truth is they were once some of the greatest places on earth, but things are changing now. Once upon a time, these states were known for their top-notch technology, housing opportunities, jobs, tourists, and overall economic stability. But things are changing, and some of these states are facing some serious challenges. For example, think about states like California. This beautiful place is often a major attraction for travelers, but the people living there aren't feeling so great. Things like housing, groceries, transportation, and healthcare are just beyond the reach of most Californians, let alone the everyday native people. What's happening is that the cost of living and crumbling infrastructure are taking a toll on the population. In fact, if you plan to move to California, it might be best to think twice. On top of that, some popular people like YouTubers and celebrities have left California because it's just too expensive and unfit for business owners. Plus, this state is not going great in terms of growth anymore. The bottom line? We need to make sure these changes don't continue, and that people in these states are able to enjoy a brighter future. So, let this video help you understand why these states are facing population declines, and if you decide to plan a trip there, it's best to give it a pause. So, if we wanted to talk about when businesses moved out of California and to other states, we could look at Elon Musk's factory as an example. He moved it to Texas in 2020. You know, the not-so-great future of California is nothing but true. The state is losing its charm and reputation, and it's all because of high taxes and fiscal instability. Number 9. Pennsylvania might not sound too appealing now, but there were once opportunities and jobs here. But now, we're talking about the rise of government taxes and bills, making things really tough for the people living there. The unemployment rate in Pennsylvania is pretty high. It's a 7.4 percentage point higher than the national average. This has led to a surge in jobless people. Unfortunately, things didn't always look this bad. Back in the day, Pennsylvania was known for its opportunities, jobs, and a friendly atmosphere. However, the fast-approaching rise in government taxes and bills is taking its toll on the people living there. The state was once rich in resources and jobs, but now, the lack of fiscal stability has really affected it. People living in the Appalachian Mountains and the northern parts have extremely low salaries, with their median income just a little over $65,000. For those dreaming of making a tidy living in this state, things might not be as easy as it appears. Oregon, listed as number 8, truly has stunning landscapes, lush green fields, and breathtaking views. However, there are issues with the state as well. It's not as perfect as it seems. Yes, it's great to have beautiful scenery, but you need more to make a good lifestyle. In fact, Oregon has lost about 0.38% of its population since 2021. This part of the story is definitely interesting. So, got a story to share. You know how Oregon has these crazy high prices and it's just hard to afford housing? Well, guess what? Half of the people living there have to spend more than 50% of their income on housing. That's insane, right? But Oregon's not just expensive housing-wise, it's also full of weird policies that can make things really difficult for its people. Like, for example, Oregon cuts police funding and people can't make ends meet. It's kinda crazy, right? A lot of the people who live there are moving to places like Texas or other parts of the US where housing costs are lower and expenses are lower too. Now, number 7. I mean, we're talking about a state that's actually shrinking, like really shrinking though. Rhode Island is kind of famous for its historical sites and all the cool water things it has, right? And guess what? Rhode Island is officially among those states that are shrinking rapidly. In fact, it's losing about 5% of its population every year. Between 2021 and 2022, it dropped by a whopping 30%. Yikes! And while the island is beautiful, nobody can really enjoy it if they can't afford to live there. On average, a home costs around $462,000, which is $130,000 more than the national average. Rhode Island's also done pretty poorly when it comes to economic growth, making this state a pretty bad idea for starting a small business. So, if you're thinking of living here, it's maybe not the best idea. You might have some good days here, but you'd eventually need to move to another place to make up for it. Honestly, it's kind of a bummer to think about. Alright, here are a few cool things about number 6 you might want to know about Mississippi. You know, this part of the US isn't just pretty, it has its own unique charm and crazy awesome facts. Think again, Mississippi might be known as the land of 1,000 lakes, but it also has quite a few lakes compared to its neighboring states. Just in case you were wondering, the entire Mississippi River is actually part of this state. Yup, Mississippi is the longest river in the United States. Mississippi has a unique history. The state has faced many changes, both positive and negative. During the Civil War, Mississippi experienced a heavy blow as its population almost dwindled by a staggering 400.32%. That's more than 9,500 people leaving Mississippi every single day. Do you know why people leave their home state? It's often due to poor facilities and a lack of better resources, especially when it comes to income levels. People from Mississippi often leave their home state for a number of reasons. One of the main causes is the severe lack of quality schools and affordable healthcare, which can create a ripple effect within families. The situation is further complicated by Mississippi's high poverty rate, which now stands at 7.92%. This is far higher than the national average, and Mississippi is the second most poor state in the nation. Interestingly, Mississippi does not only have the highest poverty rates but also ranks as the second poorest state in the country, with an average median income of just over $74,000 for a family of 4. It is interesting to note that the state is not doing too well in comparison to other states in the US, especially when the question is tackling poverty. Mississippi, a haven for beach lovers from around the world, is no longer an enjoyable place for many native residents. The state has lost a whopping 180.48% of its population. Don't even get me started on rising housing prices and other basic needs, things that can drive people from their home state in droves. In conclusion, Mississippi definitely has its fair share of interesting stuff to share. Some areas are more affected than others, but every state has its fair share of challenges. It's important to remember that every community has its unique issues, and it's essential to support and help each other grow and thrive. So, number 5, Hawaii is actually the country's top 8 of 32 state when it comes to living costs, with an average of 179 compared to the US average of 100. Not only that, but Hawaii also has high rankings in grocery transportation, healthcare, and housing. The index is so high that it stands out at an astonishing score of 53,309. Take a look at this recent example of a median house sale selling for a staggering $700,000, with the average income of a person in Louisiana being just $83,200. It's the perfect blend of French, Spanish, and African culture, but not on good terms with the native population. Number 4, since the last year Louisiana lost 37,000 people, making its percentage of poverty rate at an incredibly high level of 9.6%. You can't forget the big impact it had on the state's economy, as it seems to stagnate even today. Though the state isn't getting better, it has turned worse over the years. It's almost 14 years since the last improvement, and West Virginia definitely isn't the best place to live in the US. The state has become poorer, with many young people leaving to find better opportunities. One possible reason for this stagnation might be the horrendous economy the state has faced. West Virginia had the lowest cost of living compared to other declining states in the US. However, sometimes it's also a great place for a relaxed lifestyle, like in some places. That's what can explain why people are moving out of Louisiana. Besides being good at certain aspects, West Virginia also has some lower living costs compared to other states. But one reason people move is the worsening state economy in the US. Virginia's the worst case among all the states in the country, with no doubt. Not only does it have the lowest GDP per capita, but it also doesn't offer a lot of good job opportunities for the youth. Worse still, there's no significant difference between the highest and lowest incomes in the state, meaning everyone barely gets by. As if that wasn't bad enough, Virginia is also the 4th poorest state in the US when it comes to income levels, right behind Mississippi. West Virginia's not even close to as nice as Virginia. If you want to raise a family in places like these, it's a bit tough. Let's not forget number 2, Illinois is one of the worst places in the US when it comes to losing population. In recent years, the state has lost about 12.08% of its population. That means more than 104,000 people have left, which is just mind-blowing. All these factors make Virginia, Illinois, and Mississippi the prime examples of the problems our country is having right now. It's definitely not a pleasant reality to face. Chicago are the reason for the city being high taxes and expensive lifestyle, but that is not the only reason for people leaving Chicago, particularly as the other cities share the same grounds. Other things that drive people away from Illinois include its tough economy, which hasn't been easy since the pandemic. Living in this state is not always stable or affordable, given its high property tax rates. Even if you can afford to live here, keep in mind that Illinois shares the second highest tax burden in the country, after New York. That puts a hefty amount on your wallet. The state has lost a whopping 9.91% of its population from 2021 to 2022, which is equivalent to 80,000 people. The main reason for this massive drop is due to its high tax rates, which push the tax burden up to 12.47%. By comparing it to Alaska's low tax burden of just 5%, Illinois' tax burden is much higher. Number one but not the least is New York. When it comes to housing prices, New York is crazy expensive. With a steep housing index of 53 times the US average, you can expect to pay about $18,000 for a single room. That just goes to show how insane housing costs can be in this city. Moving out of the state is not always a viable option, as many people are finding remote work easier to do. The state has already started a population decline plan, and it's not looking too promising. These factors show that the decline of states like Illinois, New York, and California is already a serious issue for the US. Click that subscribe button now and see the next video popping on your screen. I am sure you will definitely like it.